So in my last video, I went over the most surprising player from all 31 NHL teams so far this season. Continuing on the one from every team series, today we're going to be going over the worst contract from all 31 NHL teams. Now keep in mind, this video is on the worst contract from every team, not necessarily the most overpaid player. Obviously cap hit matters, but so does age of the player and term on the contract as well. This is the type of video that I feel like could upset some people, so just remember these are just my opinions. If you disagree with any of my picks, just be sure to let me know what yours are down below in the comment section, and also let me know which one from every team video you guys want to see next. Of course, if you want to stay connected, the links to my social medias like Instagram and Twitter will as always be down below in the description. And most importantly, if this is your first time checking out the channel and you want more NHL content just like this, be sure to hit that subscribe button, and now let's begin. Starting off the video with the Anaheim Ducks, feel like it has to be Adam Henrique. Including this season, he's got 4 years left at a cap hit of $5.825 million. He's not a bad player, obviously. He scored 26 goals last season, has 6 goals this season. His contract just isn't the greatest, and I feel like all the evidence you need to back up that statement is the fact that he was on waivers earlier in the season. Any team in the league could have claimed him, but nobody did because of his contract. Moving on now to the Coyotes, I feel like this has to be Oliver Ekman-Larsson. He's got 7 years left at a cap hit of $8.25 million, a full no-move clause. That is a massive contract. He is getting paid like one of the best defensemen in the league, and will be for a very long time, but he's not exactly one of the best defensemen in the league. He's good, but not one of the best. The Boston Bruins, I'm gonna go with Charlie Coyle. He's got 6 years left at a cap hit of $5.25 million, but the Boston Bruins are a team that have a lot of really good contracts, so they can afford to overpay a little bit for somebody like Charlie Coyle. If this is the worst contract on your team, then you're in pretty good shape. The Buffalo Sabres, it's Jeff Skinner. I feel like I don't really have to do too much explaining here. His $9 million cap hit is tied for the 24th highest in the league, and his contract doesn't end for another 7 years. And we all know the current situation with Jeff Skinner in Buffalo. It's not good. The Calgary Flames, this is another easy one. It's got to be Milan Lucic. He's a valuable player for Calgary in terms of what he brings to their bottom six, what he can bring for them in the playoffs, but he's not exactly getting paid like a bottom six forward. He has a cap hit of $5.25 million for the next 3 years. Moving on now to the Carolina Hurricanes. If I made this video before the season, probably would have said Jordan Staal, but with the way he's playing this season, I just can't, so I'm gonna go with Brady Shea. He's got 4 years left at a cap hit of $5.25 million. He only makes $50,000 less than Jacob Slavin. Definitely not close to being one of the worst contracts in the league or anything, but I would definitely say it's the worst on the Canes. I really had a tough time choosing for the Blackhawks. With the news coming out about Brent Seabrook, him retiring, his contract is now going to be on the LTIR, so it doesn't qualify. Patrick Kane makes $10.5 million, but he's literally been a top 3 player in the league this season. For the Hawks, I feel like it comes down to Jonathan Toews, who is actually on the LTIR, but the belief is that he'll play again, Calvin DeHaan, and Duncan Keith. I'm gonna go with Calvin DeHaan. He makes over $4.5 million this season and next. He's not really, a huge factor for the Blackhawks. The Colorado Avalanche has to be Erik Johnson. He's their highest paid defenseman, a cap hit of $6 million for 3 more years. He's their highest paid defenseman, but he's like the 5th or 6th best defenseman on the team. Colorado can afford to have a contract like this though, just because they have somebody like McKinnon on such an absolute bargain of a contract. Moving on now to Columbus, I feel like it has to be Cam Atkinson. I mean, he's one of the few players on the Blue Jackets that actually have a lot of term on their contract. He's still got 5 years left at a cap hit of $5.875 million. He's a solid player, similar to what I said when talking about Charlie Coyle on the Bruins. If this is your worst contract, I feel like you're in pretty good shape. The Dallas Stars, it really comes down to Tyler Seguin and Jamie Benn. I'm gonna go with Tyler Seguin for the worst. He makes a little bit more than Jamie Benn at $9.85 million, and he has 7 years left as opposed to Benn only having 5. Seguin is obviously a really good player, but he's getting paid like he's one of the absolute best centermen in the league, and I'm not even sure if he's like top 20. The Detroit Red Wings, I feel like it easily has to be Frans Nielsen. He's still got 2 years left on his contract. You could make a case for Danny DeKeyser, but at this point in their careers, at the very least, I feel like Danny DeKeyser is still a usable NHL defenseman when healthy. Frans Nielsen, not really an NHL caliber player anymore. The Edmonton Oilers, another really easy one. It's James James Neal. He's got 3 years left at a cap hit of $5.75 million. He got off to a really hot start in Edmonton at the start of last season, but ever since then, it's been kind of meh. The Florida Panthers, Sergei Bobrovsky, definitely the worst contract on the team, and you could make a case that it's the worst in the league. He's got 6 years left at a cap hit of $10 million, and in total with the Florida Panthers, in 63 games, he has a .901 save percentage and a 3.17 goals against average. Not very good, especially for $10 million bucks. The Los Angeles Kings, I'm definitely going to go with Drew Doughty. He has a cap hit of $11 million, which is tied for the 5th highest cap hit in the league with John Tavares. Still got 7 years left on that contract. He's already 31 years old. I will say this, Drew Doughty has been better this season than he was the past couple of seasons, but he's still not a Norris caliber defenseman anymore, and that's what he's getting paid like and will be for a very long time. The Minnesota Wild, this one easily goes to Zach Parise. Still has 5 years left on that massive 13-year contract he signed so long ago at a cap hit of a little over $7.5 million. The past couple of seasons, Zach Parise was actually very good. He scored 25 or more goals in each of those 2 seasons, but this year, not so much. He's only got 3 goals in 23 games and was actually a healthy scratch not too long ago for, I believe, the first time in his career. Moving on now to the Canadiens, gotta go with Carey Price. He's still got 6 years left at a cap hit of $10.5 million. He's the highest paid goaltender in the entire NHL, and he just really isn't one of the best goaltenders in the league anymore. He has his moments. The 2020 playoffs, he was fantastic, but if we're talking regular season, he hasn't been elite since like the 2016-17 season. The Nashville Predators, you can really go one of two ways with this. Matt Duchene or Ryan Johansson, they both make $8 million a year. I'm gonna give the worst to Matt Duchene strictly based off of the fact that he's got 6 years left and Ryan Johansson only has 5 years left. They are both awful contracts though. The New Jersey Devils, only really one right answer here, and that is PK Subban, has a cap hit of $9 million for this season and next. And at this point, it's very safe to say that PK Subban's best years are behind him. The silver lining when it comes to this contract for the Devils though is the fact that it doesn't have a ridiculous amount of term left on it like some of the other contracts we've talked about. Moving on now to the New York Islanders, gotta be Andrew Ladd. At this point in his career, he's not really an NHL caliber player anymore. He's actually currently on the Islanders taxi squad, but he still has 3 years left on a contract that has an AAV of $5.5 million, so that is by far the worst contract on the Islanders. The New York Rangers, this is another pretty easy one. I feel like it has to be Jacob Trouba. He's got 6 years left on a contract that has a cap hit of $8 million a season. He has a full no-move clause, and he really just hasn't been the defenseman that the New York Rangers had hoped he'd be. He hasn't been the Jacob Trouba that we saw in the 2018-19 season with the Winnipeg Jets. Now, he is only 27, definitely still room there for him to bounce back, but I don't think it's likely that we'll ever see Trouba live up to that contract. Moving on now to Ottawa, and for me this came down to 3 players. Colin White, Nikita Zaitsev, and Matt Murray. I'm gonna go with Nikita Zaitsev though, I think. The way I thought of it was like, if Ottawa was given the option right now to decide between those 3 players which one they could just get rid of, they wouldn't have the player anymore, they wouldn't have to worry about the contract, I think they would probably go with getting rid of Zaitsev and his current contract and keep Murray and White on their current contracts. That's kind of the way I broke it down, but let me know what you guys think. Out of those 3, which contract do you think is the worst? The Philadelphia Flyers. Similar to what I said when talking about Carolina and Jordan Staal, if you asked me before the season started which contract is the worst on the Flyers, I would have said JVR, but with the way he's playing so far this season, I just can't say that right now. Kevin Hayes is, I would say, a bit overpaid, but he's playing really well right now as well. I think I'll go with Jacob Voracek. He's 31. He's still got 4 years left at a cap hit of $8.25 million. Voracek is obviously still a very, very important player to the Flyers, but his contract just isn't great, and I had to pick somebody here. The Pittsburgh Penguins, I'm gonna give it to Mike Matheson. I will say that he's been better in Pittsburgh than I expected, but I mean 6 years left at a cap hit of $4.875 million, so close to $5 million. That is a pretty insane contract for the type of player that Matheson is and what he brings for the Penguins. The San Jose Sharks, pretty easy choice here. Gotta be Erik Karlsson. Another contract that has to be in the conversation for worst in the league. 7 years left at a cap hit of $11.5 million. That is an insane contract. Erik Karlsson is just not the defenseman that he once was, and obviously it doesn't help that the Sharks as a whole are just not a very good team. The St. Louis Blues are a pretty difficult one. I feel like it comes down to Justin Falk, Torrey Krug, and Braden Shen, but they're all playing relatively good right now, so you kind of have to make a choice as to who you think is going to fall off first, I guess you can say. I guess I'll go with Torrey Krug. He's already 29, 7 years left at a cap hit of $6.5 million, so he's going to be getting paid that till he's 36 years old. And Krug is, I won't say one-dimensional, but he's more so known as an offensive defenseman. He's a little bit undersized. I feel like his contract is going to age worse than Schenn and Falk's contract. The Tampa Bay Lightning, I feel like it has to be Tyler Johnson. He's got 4 years left at a $5 million cap hit, and similar to what I said at the start of the video when talking about Adam Henrique, this is somebody who was placed on waivers in the offseason. Any team in the league could have claimed him for free, but nobody did, pretty much strictly because of his contract, because Tyler Johnson is still a solid player. Like, if he was making $2 million, $3 million a season, that's a guy who gets claimed instantly. The Toronto Maple Leafs, John Tavares, he's got 5 years left, an $11 million cap hit. That's tied for the 5th highest cap hit in the league with Drew Doughty. John Tavares is obviously still an incredible player, but he's not one of the very best players in the league, and that's what he's getting paid like. Now, I'm definitely not saying Toronto never should have signed John Tavares. That's a stupid argument. Anytime you have a chance to get a player of that caliber, you do it. The Vancouver Canucks, honestly, you got a lot of options here. I don't think it's Louis Eriksson because he only has 1 year left after this season. I'm actually going to go with Tyler Myers, who has 4 years left at a cap hit of $6 million. I'm not trying to be harsh here, but Tyler Myers just isn't really a great defenseman. Like, on a really good team, he probably shouldn't be in the top 4. Moving on now to the Vegas Golden Knights, I'm actually going to go with Alex Pietrangelo, 7 years left at a cap hit of $8.8 million, so he's going to be getting paid that until he's 38 years old. That is a long time. They're banking on Pietrangelo's game aging very, very well, and it definitely could. It's obviously, still early in this contract. He's only played 18 games with the Knights, but I don't really think it's crazy to say that his best years could already be behind him. The Washington Capitals, I would definitely say it has to be TJ Oshie. He's already 34 years old, still has 5 years left at a cap hit of $5.75 million. Oshie is obviously still a solid player for the Capitals. It's just the term left on this contract, I think, that makes it so bad. And now finally, finishing off the video with the Winnipeg Jets, I'm going to say their worst contract is Josh Morrissey's. 8 years left at a $6.25 million cap hit. Josh Morrissey is a solid top 4 defenseman, but that is a lot of money for a long time for somebody who isn't really a star. So that is going to do it for today's video. That was, in my opinion, the worst contract from all 31 NHL teams, and like I said at the start of the video, this was just my opinion. So if you disagreed with any of my picks, be sure to get down there in the comments section and let me know what yours would be, and also be sure to let me know which one from every team video you guys want to see next. If you guys did enjoy today's video, please be sure to leave it a like. That is the best way to show your support. And if this was your first time checking out the channel and you liked what you saw and you want more NHL content just like this, be sure to hit that subscribe button, and I will talk to you all in the next video.